Hello guys, we are Movie Teller here, welcome back. Today we are going to explain you a drama, thriller-based movie from 2018, titled Hippopotamus. I hope you guys going to enjoy the story of this movie is amazing and it has an unexpected ending, that's why you must watch the whole video. Turn on the subtitles, spoilers ahead. Watch out. Like and subscribe may look simple for you, but for us it's very valuable. We appreciate your support. Please follow and share. Enjoy the movie. The movie starts with a wounded young woman slowly gaining back her consciousness, and the moment she opens her eyes she discovered herself in a locked room. She panics and tries to get up, but her knees are injured and she can't even move. A male voice appears, introduces himself as Tomas Allcroft, and he told her that she's been kidnapped. He also says that he plans to keep her here until she falls in love with him, and proceeds to tell the woman her name Ruby Watts, along with other personal details from her life, like where she's from, her age, education, her parents' detail, etc., which means Ruby has forgotten everything about herself and didn't remember how she ended up with Tomas. Crying, she asks him what he did to her legs. Tomas replies that he cut off her ligaments. He asks her to not move around, otherwise she'll lose her legs forever. Tomas also told her that he'll come to her 3 times a day to give her food, and after her meal, she'll have to take her medicine, and he'll give her a bath every 2 days. He will help her to go to the washroom. If she tries to walk on her own, then her legs will be disabled for her whole life. If she wants her legs to be like before, then she'll have to listen to everything that Tomas says. He gives her some food with painkillers and contraceptive pills. He tells her that lights will go out at 11 p.m. and will come back on at 7 a.m. He has placed her purse on a chair on the opposite side of the room. He tells her not to run away because they're in the middle of nowhere. Ruby asks if he had abused her, to which he replies he didn't. The next morning, Tomas wakes her up and brings Ruby her breakfast. When he leaves, we saw Ruby went to that chair with the help of her hands, and she took the handbag which is on the other side of the room. She opens it and go through her bag and pulls out a mirror, and also, she found her ID. She tried to see herself in a tiny makeup mirror so that she can understand that the photo on the ID was her, and then she realized that it was her ID. Then she heard that Tomas was coming, so she immediately crawls back to her previous position. But unfortunately a ball fell out of her bag, but Ruby hid that ball in her shorts pocket before Tomas came in the room. Tomas brings her a tray of food and noticed her flushed face. He notices she is in pain and forcefully made her take the painkillers. After that Ruby fell asleep. Later, when she wakes up distressed and tries to get up, but stops as a sharp pain runs through her legs. Tomas is already in the room, sitting in a chair close to Ruby. Ruby asks him who he is and what has he done to her. Tomas calmly told her the same thing he said to her the first time she saw him in the room, that his name is Tomas Allcroft, and how she has to stay in there until she falls in love with him. He repeats the same information what he knows about her. Ruby's reminded of her everyday schedule and how slim her chances are of escaping. Ruby also asked him the question as before, once again asks him if he assaulted her. This time Tomas gets angry and he throws her bag, knocks out of the chair, exits the room. Tomas left. The question is for how long Ruby has been staying there. Maybe Tomas had kept her there for so long, and every time he erased her memory, so that she could not remember anything of her past life. Then Ruby found that ball from her shorts and she started to have doubts about Tomas. Immediately she was thinking about how the ball got into her shorts. Later, we see the rest of Ruby's day. Tomas performing psychical therapy on Ruby, him bathing her using washcloths, and Ruby repeatedly slamming the ball on the room's door once it's nighttime. One day, Ruby notices the wound in the back of her head. She crawls to her purse and uses her mirrors to see the wound on the back of her head. Tomas is watching her do this through the crack in the door. He snivels and she quickly hides the piece of the mirror inside her bandage and crawls back to her previous place. Tomas came into that room and gave her the medicine. Ruby fell asleep after taking the medicine. Once it's nighttime, Tomas plays a recording that tells her to discourage from moving and escaping, and after that they both fall asleep. Next, some days have passed like this. Tomas bringing Ruby food and helping her with her hygiene, and Ruby spending most of her nights playing catch with her ball. But because of that, Ruby knew that she was here for so many days. So one morning, she asks him a question. She asks him what would happen if she doesn't fall in love with him, and will she stay captive forever if she doesn't. She tells him that kidnapping a girl and cutting her ligaments is not exactly the most romantic thing. She's making a joke and Tomas says it's a good thing. Tomas states that she must be getting bored and offers to bring her something in order to make her stay. Ruby thinks for a second and asks Tomas to bring her a pillow and a blanket, and a book to pass the time. Thomas agrees to bring these things for her. One evening, Ruby is sitting on a mattress when Thomas brings a book that has illustrations. As soon as Ruby looks at it, she remembers that she used to read this book. Ruby gets overwhelmed since that book is the only thing she remembers from her past life. Thomas explains to Ruby that she could get back some of her memories if they're triggered. Thomas offers to help her regain her memory, and she thanks him. Next day, Thomas brings her food. He asks Ruby if there is anything she wants. She says she wants a red bush tea, and he instantly brings it to her. After smelling it, Ruby awakens a memory. She smiles and questions Thomas whether he knew she was going to pick this specific tea. He smiles and tells her that it's the only thing she drinks. A few days later, Ruby was alone in that room and she was reading the book, but she found some strange writing on a page. She tried to read it with a broken mirror which she had kept hidden in the bandage of her leg. It was written in backwards letters. She ends up seeing some of the letters spell out, "Don't trust him," in the mirror. Ruby got worried after seeing this. That day in the evening, Thomas brought a table and 2 chairs into the room, and then both of them had dinner together. While having dinner, Ruby asked him about how many girls he's kept in this room. Thomas denies her allegations, but Ruby accused Thomas of stalking, kidnapping, assaulting, and murdering young women like her. Before she can go on, Thomas bangs his fist on the table and hurt himself. His hand was bleeding. He wipes clean the blood on his arm and told her that she's the only girl, and he just wants her to fall in love with him. After saying this, Thomas left. The next day, we see Thomas tells Ruby her legs are healing but they need more time. When he leaves, Ruby takes off her bandages from her legs and inspects her injury. She manages to get up and goes to the door. When she touches the doorknob, she remembers how Thomas kidnapped her by injecting her with something. While reading the book again, she is reading the obscure message in her book, and suddenly a new memory is unlocked. This time of herself hiding something behind a brick in the room. Ruby removes the brick and a dozen matches fall out. Ruby wondered how those matchsticks came there because she does not remember anything. Later, in the next scene, we see how Ruby's days are spent writing inside the book, exercising her legs, and practicing how to use her broken mirror part as a weapon. While Thomas is helping her to walk again, she's pretending her legs aren't in great condition. At the end of the scene, we notice Ruby wrote "play along" in her book. The next morning, Ruby is seen during push-ups, but she hears Thomas is coming back. She rushes back to her place and pretends to read her book. Thomas suggests he should help her to exercise her legs before dinner. As Thomas helps Ruby to walk, she once again acts as if her legs are wounded. Then one evening, Thomas has shaved his beard and tells her that they are having a special dinner. When she takes a bite, Ruby unlocks another memory, this one being of her and Thomas having dinner at a restaurant. In the end, he gave her a chain as a present. This memory overwhelms Ruby. Ruby tearfully smiles at him. At night, Ruby saw a drawing, and she was the one who made those drawings. Ruby was getting closer to Thomas day by day. Thomas was thinking that Ruby was falling in love with him, but actually Ruby was trying to escape from the room, but she couldn't, so she stops for a few days. The next scene opens with Ruby sleeping in bed and Thomas covering her with a blanket, which unlocked another memory of what seems to be her and Thomas being intimate. One night, Thomas dances with Ruby. She again got back another memory of hers. The memory is of Ruby and Thomas dancing at a party, while Thomas was proposing to her to marry him. Ruby said yes, and this memory brings tears to her eyes. She understands that she really had a great relationship with Thomas. Later, one day, Ruby sits Thomas down and dims the lights. She asks Thomas how did they end up in this situation. Thomas agrees to explain it to her. Thomas told her that on a weekend she was in a bar with her friend Nick, and Thomas was supposed to pick her up from that bar, but he missed his train and couldn't get there in time. Thomas's friend Rob was driving him. Meanwhile, Ruby was having drinks with her flatmate Nick. When they got back home, Nick forced himself on her and brutally assaults her. Thomas went to Nick's flat looking for Ruby. He saw that Nick was forcing her and had beat her so badly. Ruby was badly injured. Thomas could not tolerate this, so beat Nick to death and carried Ruby to Rob's car. This accident with Ruby traumatized her and she lost her memory. Because of this, she couldn't recognize Thomas or herself. So, Thomas asked his friend Rob to drive them as far as possible. Thomas proceeds to take Ruby to an abandoned island farm. Here started reading about her condition. He found out that Ruby has retrograde amnesia. She has forgotten everything about her life before the attack. Her memories would also reset if she slept for too long. Thomas also learned that he could use small triggers to help Ruby get her memories back. So, he He tried different methods to bring back her memory. In the end, he decided to play the role of a kidnapper to help Ruby. He controlled her sleep cycle and used triggers to bring back past memories. Slowly, Ruby started gaining her memories, and now she remembers it all. When Tomas finishes his story, Ruby is left in tears and hugs him and tells him that she loves him. The two become intimate and fall asleep on one another. Ruby awakens first and turns off Tomas' watch before it can ring his alarm. She stabs him with a broken mirror that she kept to herself. She starts crawling to escape, but Tomas tries to stop her. She kicks him with her feet and manages to escape to the outside. She gazes tearfully at the sky above, then runs to the boat. While she was running towards the boat, she fell down and she fainted. She woke up. She discovered herself in a hospital bed, with a doctor assuring her she'll be fine and that she may experience some short-term memory loss due to her injury. The film ends by revealing that the doctor is none other than Tomas himself, who yet again set up a different scenario in hopes of gaining Ruby's trust and regaining her memory. To watch more explanations of these kinds of movies, click on the videos on your screen, and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this, share this video with others, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out.